There is a moment in 1986's Aliens movie where Sigourney Weaver's character of Ellen Ripley meets up with the Colonial Marines. At this point, audiences are face to face with the biggest ass kickers in the galaxy, a motley collection of misfits who are armed to the teeth and have veins full of piss and vinegar as they excitedly prepare to go on a big old bug hunt. And then everyone pretty much dies in a horrible and gruesome manner. Director James Cameron pulled the rug out from audiences who were expecting a straight up action film and instead got an intense race to the survival finish line, reinforcing the idea that a colony of xenomorphs were more terrifying than anything that mankind could throw at it. And that's the theme that continues in Aliens Fireteam Elite, albeit with slightly increased odds of survival as players take part in 3-person raids on xenomorph dens and ancient alien ruins. At its core, Aliens Fireteam Elite is about discovering that bravado of kicking ass and taking names as you move forward through enemy territory, and then reaching a point where you are in for the fight of your life as you find yourself surrounded by an army of xenomorph runners, prowlers, and praetorians. It is pure aggression wrapped up in multiplayer live service elements, and while that may sound like a few dirty words to the franchise, it's actually a surprising and deep blend of action and tactics. In a world where Creative Assembly's Alien Isolation felt like the true successor to the original 1979 film, Aliens Fireteam Elite is easily the kinetic attitude of the first sequel turned up to 11. For the first time since developer Rebellion took a stab at the Aliens vs Predator franchise so many years ago and added a colonial marine to that game's design, Aliens Fireteam Elite comes out of the gate swinging with an entry that blows Gearbox's massively panned effort out of the airlock with an experience that plays like Gears of War going up against a never-ending army of acidic penis head monsters.
Get away from her, you bitch!
The beauty of the game's structure boils down to how Aliens Fireteam Elite gives players a selection of loadouts to invest in, each one capable of shooting bugs apart with the game's chunky arsenal of high-impact, death-dealing weapons. What makes each class truly fascinating is a combination of unique skills and perks that can be unlocked, each one having immense strategic significance depending on how you play. Recon Marines, for example, start out with a drone that highlights enemies, but invest some time and effort into the skill and it will become an orb that weakens enemies and provides buffs to you and your team. But hang on, maybe you prefer to go in all guns blazing instead, right? Well then you can grab the Demolisher, who's armed with an almighty smart gun that picks targets for you and rips entire swarms apart so that the rest of your team can focus on bigger threats coming towards them. The rest of the game's crew of playable soldiers all bring a varied selection of handy skills to the table, such as the Technician's Turret, the Gunner's ability to unleash bullet hell with their overclock ability, and the Doc's useful collection of medical expertise that keeps everyone fighting for longer. The other question though is, how much game is there packed into Aliens Fireteam Elite? That's a bit of a subjective question, but at the very bare minimum there's more than enough content packed into the frame of Fireteam Elite to keep things interesting for a few weeks. The game kicks off with a story divided into 4 acts. Each act has 3 missions and each mission will run you anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes to complete. Once that campaign is done, a horde mode cuts the narrative fat off the meat and tasks players with seeing just how many waves of escalating danger they can survive before the odds overwhelm them. There's also a hidden cache in every level that rewards players with cool cosmetics as well as plenty of audio logs to discover throughout your journey into space horror. Factor in tactical opportunities that challenge you to kill X amount of specific enemies or play certain missions in exchange for cold hard credits, and you've got enough content to get invested in for a few weeks. One other interesting wrinkle that Cold Iron has thrown into the mix are challenge cards, which seems to be this year's hot ticket gameplay item. Hello Back 4 Blood. Challenge cards shake the game up tremendously, providing either extra challenges or added incentive to finish a mission depending on your preference. Some exotic cards will hand out triple the experience points, for example, if you finish a round, while others will have you swearing at your friend for activating a card that cuts your reload speed in half. Matty, if you are watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're feeling truly mental, you can even play a card that turns regular xenomorph runners into explosive acid bombs, spawn a challenging warrior that will stalk you in every single room that you enter straight out of the 1979 Alien film, or make your entire party play around using nothing but your pea shooter's sidearm. The choice is up to you. You absolute mad bastards, don't use that card, it's terrible. It's worth noting that developer Cold Iron has committed to rolling out at least a year's worth of content for the game, which will include free gameplay season updates, free next-gen console upgrades, and no microtransactions or loot boxes. That's not bad for a game that costs $40 on launch day. And if Aliens Fireteam Elite can keep that momentum going, I've got a feeling that we're in for a good time. It's obviously the kind of game that works best with friends, and while I did play a few chunks of it with the capable AI bots available, nothing beats seeing one of your buddies mauled by horrible space monsters or risk having their faces molested by walking vagina monsters. Who can say where the road goes? There's no denying that the game is going to be entirely dependent on the online crowd and how it grows from its starting point. Because admittedly, Aliens Fireteam Elite feels sort of like a paradox. What it has to offer feels fantastically complete. Every gun has a unique character and looks like it came straight out of the films. Facing off against a horde of xenomorphs requires keeping an eye on all corners, as they do indeed come out of the walls. And the versatility of every character's skill tree provides some wild opportunities for customization. But at the same time, there are some areas of the game that feel like they could do with a bit more polish. Every member in the Colonial Marine Corps is apparently a ventriloquist, because you'll never see them move their lips ever, and the game's story is barely there. Sort of, it's kind of weird to explain. Now, admittedly, it's awkward to focus on the narrative when your position is being overrun, but it would be comforting to delve deeper into the uniquely fascinating galaxy of Alien without having to scroll through mountains of text that are only discoverable by finding fiendishly well hidden audio logs. Likewise, the lack of crossplay could really hurt the game in the long run, as AR teammates just cannot compare to real life friends. A proper ping system that doesn't require bringing up a selection wheel in the middle of battle would be handy, and an in-game voice chat would also be superb. Otherwise, you're going to have to get used to setting up a Discord for you and your friends. The core meat and potatoes though, Aliens Fireteam Elite feels like a very snackable game to hop into between breaks for a quick session of shoot 'em up action. Missions run just long enough to never outstay their welcome, the challenge escalates brutally depending on which difficulty setting you've chosen, and the game is, on a visual level at least, an absolute treat for long-time fans, as it contains numerous Easter eggs that reference the film franchise, and actually the entire expanded Aliens franchise when you think about it. There's spaceship machinery falling apart, sudden bursts of steam, and engineer architecture that looks as beautifully gross today as it did several decades ago. It's all there and just waiting to be explored, provided that you don't get your face ripped off by some hissing bastard in the corner. Aliens Fireteam Elite is a game that looks and feels great. It wears its inspiration on its sleeves, and there's no denying that mowing down seemingly endless hordes of xenomorphs makes for a fun experience. At the same time, the game accurately captures the tightrope moment of fight or flight panic, with an escalation in danger perfectly emulating some of the best moments from the Alien franchise. If Cold Iron can keep translating its enthusiasm for the series into a kick-ass action experience, then the end result is going to be a gutbuster of a good time for the next year.